Welcome back to Meet You at Breakfast. I am Ben here with Brian to talk about episode number 5 of the Traitors US season 3. And I'm loving this season so far, Brian. I kind of came in with like mixed expectations. Like the cast definitely seemed pretty solid, but we came off like kind of a heavy hitter with season 2. This so far the season is giving.
No, I agree. I think it's been a lot of fun so far. I think there's so many sharks in the castle, and they're all targeting each other, even if they're on the same team. They're all targeting each other, so that's very fun. I've seen a lot of people be very hard on Danielle for not being good, and then also hard on Big Brother as a whole because
Mhm.
maybe the traders the trader aspect is not good for Big Brother players. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah.
We've had three, and I know people are hard on Cody, but Cody's, in my opinion, one of the best players also. But we've had three really, really good players be traders, and none of them have performed great.
Yeah, I think like it's tough. I think that the most common reasoning that I've seen is just the pace of the game,
Yep.
where Big Brother, especially modern Big Brother, is the 100 days, and like even like the older seasons that a lot of these players played on, like like Danielle and Brittany and Derek and Dan and like I guess Cody played a somewhat modern season,
Yeah.
but like the majority of these players who have been on Janelle and all these, like they played like even back in the day, like 60 to 70 day games, which is still like double the length of
Still crazy.
of Survivor and like 4 times the length of the Traitors. Or like I guess like 3 times the length of the Traitors probably. Like I think the Traitors about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And like we've seen the inverse of this with Suri, right? Really
Mhm.
great at Survivor, really great at the traders, probably the best trader player so far. And
Mhm.
then really good for a month on Big Brother, and
Yeah.
then it all kind of fell apart. So it's like you said, a very different game due to the time.
Yeah, definitely like marathon versus sprint kind of deal. Like that comes up a lot with reality shows and like these kind of games, where like Suri was like on the ball in BB 25 for the first month.
Yep, incredible stuff,
Yeah,
incredible feeds, and yeah,
and then as the eviction happened, I think that kind of like took a lot of wind out of her sails, and then Jared was evicted.
yeah, the one
I
two
think that
punch.
took the rest of the wind out of her sails that was left.
So yeah, we'll defend Danielle as best we can as BB super fans over here, and
Mhm.
you know we'll also take the lumps that people want to give out for our faves not performing well. It's the second season in a row where like I hyped up one of my, friends from work, like Dan and Danielle, like, oh, they're legends. They're so great. And
Mhm.
then having to be like, it's a different game. It's just tough.
Well, I mean, like, I think, I mean, I love Danielle Race, and
Mhm.
I am very glad she's on the season. I'm definitely like, I'm not going to try to go easy on her in terms of like criticizing the gameplay because yeah, especially this episode, not great.
Yeah.
And I do think that she kind of like she was already kind of not playing like super optimally, like even before the Bob banishment.
Mhm.
But I think Bob getting banished and Boston Rob kind of like grabbing the game by the balls like that aggressively, like kind of shook her.
Yeah.
And it kind of resulted in her playing very sloppily as a result, kind of like out of panic.
Yeah. So I figured that Carolyn and Danielle would be more on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Not the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle has kind of come up with this like bigger strategy where she's like, I want Rob out. And to do that, I need a trader loyal to me.
Yeah.
So I need to get Carolyn out first. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it. is kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of how the game
Yeah,
works.
right.
It's like, and I've compared this to kind of our coverage of the circle in the past as well, and I think it's kind of a very similar premise where when we covered the circle, would harp on people for like hyper focusing on like catfish hunting when that's not even like a meaningful sector of the game. Like that in the circle, it has no bearing on the game whatsoever if somebody's a catfish or not. But there are like players who get like super hung up on trying to find out who is a catfish. On the traders, it's like less clear because voting out traders is a game mechanic that is like somewhat relevant to the game. But realistically, like it's a game. It's fundamentally just a numbers game, and the trader versus faithful aspect of it is just kind of a built-in power imbalance that you kind of have to play around when you're doing your numbers game. And by the end of the game, you do have to figure out who the traders are if you're a faithful. But like that for the first like half of the game is not really relevant to whether or not you're a good player. And for a trader, if you want to get another trader out, you don't need your traders to be on board, your fellow traders to be on board with that. Like Rob figured this out last episode. Like he didn't get anybody on board. Like he didn't get Danielle or Carolyn on board to get out Violet Drag Queen. He just went and did it. With like he strong armed a bunch of faithfuls into doing it, and then put on a show at the round table. Like this idea that Danielle needs a like a trader to back her up to take out Rob, I think is like kind of missing the point because like she could do what Rob did to Bob, rally the faithfuls, get out Boston Rob, and then strong arm Carolyn as she's been doing the entire season anyways into recruiting somebody that's more favorable for her, and now she has a 2v1 advantage in the tower against Carolyn. Like that makes way more sense to me.
Yeah, and I can like honestly see this going like to get Carolyn out and then Rob strong arms Danielle into
Yeah,
getting
into
a
like
trader
Dylan.
better for into Dylan. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
And guess what? I think that like I think Danielle thinks that she has Dylan,
Yeah.
which is ludicrous. Like Dylan is like so far up Boston Cobb's ass, it's crazy.
Dylan, little did we know, was like a super fan of,
Mm-hmm.
Survivor and Boston Rob specifically. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's starstruck.
Yeah, he literally in this episode starts wearing the Boston Rob backwards cap.
Yeah.
Like he's fully cult bought in. Like he's like he's like I don't know that anybody on Survivor has ever been this bought into Boston Rob's cult. Like he's more bought in than the entire Redemption Island cast put together.
Right. Yeah, it's so funny. Like, he has a very famous brother, and just
Yeah.
like imagining him being like, yeah, I've met all these celebrities, but like this is Boston Rob. This is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. you know?
I mean, this is how Boston Rob plays, like on everything he's ever done. Like this is even like Bob Harper calls it out at the end of the roundtable in this episode, where it's like he just is a showman. He like is a bulldozer of charisma that just like runs people over and then doesn't apologize for it.
Mhm.
And like it's working so far to a degree. Obviously, we know that like people like Wes and Derek, who are going to be intrinsically less likely to be kind of swept in with this kind of charisma cult stuff because they are also people who have done charisma cult stuff as a leader, and so like they can see through it a little bit. But for most people, it seemingly is working.
Yeah, and I want to point out like something that Rob does that he's always done this, and I really respect it. It's hard to pull off. You have to be so confident and like cool and collected. If he gets word that you're coming after him,
Mm-hmm.
he'll just go right to you and be like,
And call you out.
this is what I heard, and I'm gonna make this so uncomfortable." And
Mm-hmm.
we saw it happen to Ben on Winners at War, way
Yeah.
worse than Wes. Like, admittedly, Wes handled it marginally better, but in
Mm-hmm.
both cases, he got the truth from Wes and Ben. Where it's just because in these types of games, you so rarely have someone just like straight up, um, oh my god, I'm forgetting the word, but just straight up like go up to somebody and be like, "This is what I heard."
Yeah, just like full like 200% confrontation level.
Yes, yeah,
Like,
and
yeah. No, that,
crazy.
that scene was insane because like he basically walks up to Wes and he's like, "All right, listen, little bitch boy, I know that you're throwing my name out there," and then he just stares into his soul for like 5 minutes straight as Wes is lying to him, and like you could just see on Rob's face that he's not buying it because the lie doesn't make any sense. Like it's not like a rational lie. Like it doesn't fit the story of what Ivar had told Rob at all. Like it doesn't like mesh with anything that makes sense. Like it's like yeah, Wes didn't really get flustered the way like a Ben Driebergen did, but
Yeah,
he
that was
also
bad.
didn't fabricate like a believable lie.
Yeah, it's just I really respect that Rob
Yeah,
is confident enough to do that because I think it's a very effective thing where like people just don't do it on these shows. Like it's all
I think it takes a specific personality to be able to pull it off, though. That like
right.
Rob has, where you kind of have like kind of like a large personality, and then you kind of come off and as an intimidating presence, and you
Mhm.
like kind of lead with fear,
Right.
which is something that Rob has talked about in confessionals in the past, where he's like he cares more about people being afraid of him than like respecting him, and then like it's like almost like Mussolini, like
Oh man.
like leading through fear and like yeah, I don't know. It's like it's very effective, but I think it's very hard for somebody to replicate that doesn't have the kind of presence and personality that he
Mm.
has.
Yeah, I mean, right. One of his first confessionals, I think after they voted Hunter off in Marquesas, he
Yeah.
talks about that strategy of like, you know, you can lead people through fear. If they fear you, they're gonna do what you say. And like, yeah, he adopted that style in 2001, 2002, and has just kept it for 23 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, it takes a very specific kind of person to get somebody like a duo like Derek Levasseur and Wes Bergman like cowering in a corner together, talking about how afraid they are of somebody. Like that's not like 99.9% of people are not going to be capable of doing it.
No, definitely not. And I think the fact that Derek is also fully bought in on the Rob's a traitor, that's more worrying probably than Wes alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think Derek's playing a very good, faithful game,
Yeah.
and he can eventually pull the move to get Rob out. At least that seems to be what they're setting up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, love him or hate him, like, yeah, I do think Derek is playing well so far. I think he has like a good grasp on how to play as a faithful, to like not make huge amounts of waves. To like when you are making waves, do it against people who don't have social power. To try to like redirect in directions that like aren't towards people that seem to actually have a consensus behind them as traitors, like make actual moves kind of in the background a little bit more, and not just like be a Jeremy and like tell 40,000 people about your deepest darkest thoughts for some reason. Like, yeah, I think he's doing well. But you're muted.
My bad. What else do we want? Do we want to go right to the challenge?
Yeah, we can talk about the mission. I guess we can talk about the murder first because, like, I'm curious what your thoughts are on we have another situation where Carolyn's completely run over in the tower, and
Stuff. Yeah.
and basically each of them throws out a name. Carolyn throws out Sam's name, which is the name I threw out last week that I thought was the like most reasonable murder. Yeah.
If we lose Sam, though, we're not going to get any of the shower shots of Sam anymore. So I got to think about that.
True. Yeah. That's the only time he's on the show. So
It's the only thing he's bringing to the table.
mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, like so far, I've been like very much on board with what Carolyn has said in the tower. I think she has the most correct understanding of the show of anybody on the cast.
Yeah,
Um,
well, Carolyn is really where Danielle and Rob are the pioneers of this. Carolyn is more like us, where she was like a super fan, someone who
mhm.
played in like online games and like really tried to consume it on a level above just like casually
Yeah.
being a fan. So I think it does make sense that she might, you know, not have any preconceived biases from basically inventing aspects of other games,
Yeah.
and she's able to like look at the Traitors for what it is. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that, you know, I also like you get the kind of natural situation with Carolyn, which is kind of her arc across reality TV, which is that like people just don't take her seriously. And we even see in this episode later, like somebody like a Brittany Haynes who like should be should have like done at least a modicum of homework. I would expect like basically saying that she like that Carolyn doesn't have the chops to be a traitor, basically, which is like has nobody in this cast watched Survivor 44? Like I know, like New Era Survivor, like whatever, but like it's a it's not like a subtle season in terms of the storyline, especially like Carolyn's arc in the season. The whole like story of Carolyn in Survivor 44 is she is a huge strategic, like social strategic element of the season. She's driving a lot of the strategy in the votes throughout most of the season, and by the end of the game, still nobody believes her and takes her seriously because of her personality.
Yeah.
And like it's just happening again, and it's like, what do we do? Like, just do a little bit of research, like just the bare amount. I guess when you go on these shows, you don't know, who's going to be on them. I don't think a lot of people probably came in expecting Carolyn to be on the short list for the Traitors compared to people like a Tony or a Rob or a Jeremy. So maybe that's why. But yeah,
Yeah, I would have also been not thinking about any new era players either
yeah.
if I was going on. So, but luckily we do a podcast, so I would have known Carolyn, is a
Mhm.
good player.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I guess like I'm very curious who, if any, people on the season has seen her season of Survivor.
Right. I bet Dylan has.
Yeah.
Dylan's gonna be the first one to be on to Carolyn
Mhm.
after
Well,
he.
I mean, I don't know because we'll get to like Danielle decides this brilliant plan against Carolyn. She's going to put in an motion, and one of the first people she tells is Dylan. And by the end of the episode, one of the last scenes we get is Dylan running to Carolyn and being like, "Hey, somebody I trust came and threw your name out, and it was Danielle." And I obviously don't believe that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see this Carolyn name sticking. I think Danielle's going to get herself punished.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely can see that happening, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What do you think of the mission?
I thought it was
What do you
all
think
right.
of Alan's outfit? Most important.
Yeah, I mean, Island's outfits are always great.
Yeah.
There's nothing unique you can say about his outfit ever from a week to week basis. It's just always 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the mission was fine. It was very odd to me that they like had a mission that you could like theoretically play along at home with, and then they like did like a yada yada montage
Yeah.
over half of the questions.
That was
Like,
awkward.
what's the point?
Yeah. Also, do we think that they set up the jars and just left them, or do you think because you could have gotten the right answer or the
Yeah, I
wrong
thought about
answer
that
with the
too.
right thing, and maybe that's just people like us who are too inside, you know,
I
baseball with stuff
I
like that.
immediately thought of the same thing of like how does this work logistically, given that you could theoretically get the question wrong, but like it'd be a correct answer
As
for a
people who've set up LRGs in the
yeah.
past were like, "Ooh, there's a flaw to this."
Yeah, our brains immediately find the issue.
Yeah, exactly. How could this break and go horribly wrong,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then cause like 20 minutes of us scrambling to figure something out?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. Maybe it had like
some backups maybe.
brought in, or I don't know. I have no idea. They probably didn't think it through, and then it just worked out.
And then it worked. Yeah, right.
They probably didn't expect anybody to get the questions wrong because they were extremely easy, and then somehow two people got them wrong.
Yeah. I was joking with Jenny during it. I was like, they made these easy because they're like, got a reality TV stars here. We're not gonna like make this too crazy.
Well, they remember the mission from season 1 with the book with the the Bible passages around.
Also in the church, right?
Yeah, also in the church, where like one of the teams like completely just didn't understand how the puzzle worked at all.
Yeah. They're not sending their best.
Yeah.
I guess we're not sending our best to Scotland. But yeah, so just thought about that. Thought that was like a potential oversight that worked out, which is good for them. But I guess the big drama here was just Danielle like continuing to nuke her own game.
Yeah,
just unforced error after unforced error.
I mean, the way this game was designed, I mean, Brittany called it out in the confessional, right? Like, there's no reason to go for anyone except for the last one. There's no reason to try and score points in the middle questions. Like, you can, I guess, theoretically go for question 1 or 2 because it doesn't matter, just to be a helpful, faithful, and earn money for the pot. But like logistically, from like a game mechanic perspective, there's no reason to go for questions like 3 through 7.
Right. Yeah.
And not only does Danielle correctly answer 2 of those 5 questions that there's no logical reason to even try to get, she decides that the most faithful thing that she can do is to neglect to get herself a shield twice.
Yeah. Just real bad stuff.
Yeah. Like, maybe she's just like trying to sell herself as the most selfless person to ever be cast on the Traitor, but like she does it in like also a really kind of socially weird way where she's like, oh, I'm going to protect Dolores, which she's like rationalizing a strategy. She's like, oh, I don't want the last housewife to go out.
Yep.
I don't know why she cares.
Right.
Unless you're, other traitors are trying to murder people, you're like explicitly very close to it. And like maybe Danielle has a relationship with the housewives that we didn't see, that wasn't really like told, but like protecting Dolores like that, very odd. It doesn't really seem to serve a purpose. And doing it by specifically screwing over Derek, who is like one of her only actual faithful allies, and then going back on it immediately, being like, oh, I'm sorry, Derek, I'm gonna like I'm sorry I took your thing down, let me put it back up now.
Yeah, it was really just a terrible look by her and, Danielle.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I literally don't know what was going through her brain. It doesn't, none of it made any sense.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I feel like, honestly, faithful or traitor, I might have just sat this challenge out and just
I think you could. There's 2 options. I think you either sit it completely out, which I think what most people did, or the Brittany strategy and the Ciara strategy, which was like wait until the last question and then try to bum rush it and like win a shield.
Yep.
I don't know why Brittany orchestrated this entire strategy, which in my opinion was the correct strategy. And then she like still hesitated on the last question and then like immediately jump over the line.
Yeah. I don't know. She's not a great showing by Brittany either, honestly, this season. But they're not putting her very much in the edit either, which is unfortunate. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with her. Maybe she'll be longer for the game and she'll get more, showing later. I guess, who do you think do you think like Rachel is the best Big Brother Traitor player?
I mean, by default, probably, right?
Yeah, right. She made it furthest, so.
Yeah. I mean, who else is like? Who else are we looking at here?
Janelle did okay, I guess.
I mean, there's 6 of them, and like three of the four that have in the past went out pretty fast, and the two that are on this season are not doing great so far. I mean, Brittany's not doing horrible. We're not seeing her. She's kind of like irrelevant.
Yeah, and Derek's the other hope,
right? Oh yeah, Derek as well. Yeah, Derek has the potential to be the best, I think.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess we'll have to see there. Anything really jump out to you in the post scramble? Like the post challenge scramble?
I mean, I think that there was like some, the main thing obviously that pays off immediately is, Rochelle going to Rob and like pouring her heart out that she thinks that Nikki is a traitor, which is, again, a person just fundamentally completely misunderstanding how the game works, like across the board. Yeah. If your best friend is a traitor and you like think that you've clocked them as a traitor, that should make you want to keep them more than if your friend is a faithful. Like, it's more advantageous as a faithful to have your best friend be a traitor than a faithful, like, because they're just like probably not ever going to like push for you to get murdered, because they'll think that like, oh, I have them wrapped around my finger, they're like a guaranteed vote for me, they're going to protect you in the turret, and they're like going to vote with you against other people who are like socially against you guys. So like it doesn't make any sense. Like it's again, you're hunting catfish.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately for Nikki Bella, she really got completely avalanched on in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I do think the Traitors did a good job picking the people for the coffins, right? Mm-hmm. Like the premise, I guess, was like always to kill Jeremy, and then the other two people, they kind of picked two people that they think they could easily put suspicion on, who would kind of break down a bit and like kind of play in to the narrative and accuse each other. And like it worked out well. It worked out very well. It worked out so well that like Rob struggled to like break through it to get the Bob the drag queen banishment through.
Yep. Yeah, and like, good on Rob for pointing out like that this would happen to keep Carolyn out of the coffin. Like that was, I mean, I guess Bob was trying to put the target on Carolyn, right? Like he thought, like, well, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense if you're like both Bob and Danielle, and like for both of them, their names have been floated already, to like try to to give the faithful some meat,
right?
To like maybe get the sus off of you. Yeah, I don't know. I think so far I think the faithfuls as a whole are just so bad on this cast, right, that we're kind of seeing the consequence of that, which is that the only people on this cast that are actually trying to banish traitors are the traitors. Mm. Like no one else is actually trying to banish the traitors. Like they've gotten like the traitors were doing so well so fast and like so crushingly that like they all are just like, oh, okay, so I'm so comfortable, I'm just going to immediately turn on my other traitors and like try to just position myself better, which I don't think is like intrinsically bad. I think that like they're doing it in a bad way. I think Rob did it in a horrible way, and like has barely kind of scraped by. I think Danielle is now doing it in an even worse way somehow. But I think the instinct is interesting.
No, I agree. It's like I said. Did I say this on the show? It might have been before we started recording. This episode felt like a setup episode for a lot more interesting episodes.
Yeah, and I think it's like a bridge. Like you talk about like a bridge season in like sports, right? You're like this is like bridging the episode 4 and like presumably episode 6 craziness, and trying to like tie it into a cogent narrative. Like it definitely it's like a cool down episode. It still had a lot of good stuff in it though.
Yeah, we'll get the ultimate going in the next episode, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The craziness is on cooldown.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, what else from this episode stood out? The Royal actually is better than I thought he was going to be at the game.
Yeah,
Um,
I think now that Bob is out, who was like the one person that was pushing him as a traitor, he's kind of like maybe settling into that like kind of John Barkow kind of role
yeah,
where he's like the kind of sage voice guiding the faithfuls.
yeah, which I think that's exactly what they wanted to recreate by
Yeah.
casting him. So slam dunk there.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm in on everybody on this cast except for I've seen nothing of Sam Asghari that like like I hope they murder him next because like I don't like the other people they're gonna potentially float as to be murdered. I don't want to leave yet. So
Right.
like I'm still on the like please murder Sam Asghari. He's given us nothing other than shower shots.
Other than shower shots, which are important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
man. But yeah, I'm loving the season. Good episode. Can't wait for next week.
Yep. I mean, my biggest worry at this point is like that the show is going to burn itself out before we get to like the end game,
Right.
which I think kind of happened in season two, where like by like the final eight, final seven, there was like not a lot of like intrigue or craziness left, and then we kind of had like a boring end game after Phaedra got banished,
Yep.
as opposed to like season one, which was like uh, kind of mediocre for a lot of the season, other than like a few big personalities. And then the end game was like really compelling because like of how Suri maneuvered it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me last year, I'm a really big Sandra fan, so I was like
Yeah.
fully in on wanting her to win.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I had that interest going into the end, but I can see what you're saying for sure.
I mean, I did too. And then she kind of like got like uh, banished because of no reason at all.
Yeah. Sucked.
Yeah, like Kate was able to successfully lie and push her out of the game, and then immediately quit.
Kate. But yeah. Anything else we want to touch on before we get out of here for this one?
No, I'm loving it. I'm very excited. I'm glad we're podcasting about it. Be able to get my thoughts out there because I'm excited. I do want to call my shot because I think that I'm seeing kind of where the story might be going. I
Okay.
feel like we're going to get a Dylan recruitment. I think we both kind of agreed that seems like where the story is pushing, and I think we might be seeing like a Dylan solo trader win.
Could be crazy, Zac Efron's brother. Don't come after me, Derek, please. Being an amazing social strategy player. Who knew?
I mean, look, we talk a lot on these about these shows where like being a fan is an enormous advantage, especially on like a Big Brother, for example,
Yeah.
where the game is like kind of so hard to grasp immediately if you're not a fan of it.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's been a huge advantage for him, and like obviously he's cozied up to all three traders now.
Yeah, he's in a really good spot. He's not getting murdered. I don't think he's getting banished. Like he's in a good spot.
No, yeah, he's in the perfect spot to like get recruited mid to late game and then like never be suspected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who was the last year guy in that same spot? He turned him down.
The Peter,
Yeah.
Peter with actual like game sense and no like honor.
Yeah, Peter Peter could have slam dunk won that season.
Oh, for sure.
He threw it away for no reason.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, he's Peter if Peter was good at the game.
Yep.
And not just like kind of like, someone who's somewhat naturally charismatic and able to kind of form a group around him and then not execute anything.
Right. And it's funny because we saw Rob Has a Podcast did a Trader season, and the winner of that, I don't know if anyone's going to go watch the VOD to spoil that Claire won in a very similar way. Was really good, well situated as a faithful, and then got recruited and was able to steamroll to the end and win. It was really entertaining.
Yeah,
Claire, I think on the Real Traders.
Yeah, 100%. Like that. I mean, watching that for sure made me want to see Claire. Like before, I was like, who from from Big Brother, can they get to this point? Like Taylor Hale's like probably the most common name that I've seen, at least.
Yeah.
And like there's other people that we've talked about that went on to do like the challenge, who have like kind of crossover appeal from that, like maybe like a Josh Martinez or whatever.
Yeah. Josh,
or like a Nicole Franzel. I said before that I would be down to see. But yeah, I definitely after that showing, get Claire Rafis on the Traitors.
Yeah, and get Josh. I need to see Josh in that turret. I need to see what would happen.
Josh on either role on the Traitors would be incredible.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly.
All
right. Well, want to plug anything before we get out of here?
Not really. I don't really have anything to plug. I don't know.
No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I just I don't really do social media much anymore, so it's not really much for me to plug. So
right. All right. Well, I'll plug all the random stuff that I got going on.
Yeah, you got stuff going on.
Yeah. So please check out our sports channel. We could get sports. I'm pumping out videos on that. If I keep this clip, I'm going to make like 300 videos this year. So let's see if that happens, or if I spiral burnout. You got to be a part of it. You got to be a part of the potential crash out for Wicked Good Sports. So yeah, go check that channel out. Main channel, Wicked Everything. Just before this recording, I uploaded a video where I kind of talked about AI and creativity, and where I think people are wrong about how influential it will be over creativity. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Let me know. Check that video out. And then Those Fake Nerds, of course, which is just video game and movie news, and they're all the TikTok accounts are also there for that. And other than that, follow me on Twitter, the Fake BMAR, BMARR, and Blue Sky. I think it's like at the Fake BMAR, and then or at the Fake Brian Mar. I don't know. At Brian Mar, that's what it is. But then it's also like .blue sky .something. Please follow me there, and give me more people to follow, because it's kind of like dry. I feel like I'm trying to be on there instead of Twitter, and then like I go through the feed like immediately. All right, well, I guess I'll go on to another app now. Everything's crazy in the world, but we're making content. That's how I'm posting through it, as we say.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Traitors is good.
At least the Traitors good. Thank God. A word for the Traitors.
No Deal Island season 2 has also been very good. I've been enjoying that a lot.
Me too. Spoilers for episode 2, but I was devastated with who got out on that. I feel like casting was also probably really upset with who got taken out then. So, other than that, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.